Hello, and welcome to this episode of Inside Legal ESG. I am so excited to have with us today two people from Buenos Aires, Argentina, Connie Connelly, a co-founder of Keidos Impacto Legal, and Agostina Coniglio, also a co-founder of Keidos Impacto Legal. Keidos Impacto Legal in English is Keidos Legal Impact, and we're going to talk a lot about what that means. So let's dive right in. Welcome, Connie and Agostina. I'm going to ask each of you to tell me about your firm, a little bit about your background, and how you started your firm.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you very much for this invitation. It is really an honor for us to be here today with you, having this conversation. Telling a little bit about us, I'm going to start about myself and tell something about Keidos, and then I'll pass it to Agos. I'm a lawyer. I'm a corporate lawyer for more than 25 years. I have experience related to businesses that are seeking positive social and environmental impact, following triple line bottom business models. I was a former counsel of Pecar Varela, which is one of the biggest law firms in Argentina. There I co-founded the ESG and impact area. And together with another group of lawyers, we were rendering services, impact legal services for companies relating to ESG. During my career, I have also been an in-house lawyer for an environmental company. And 2 years ago, I co-founded together with Agostina this Keidos Impacto Legal, which is a legal consultancy firm, we call it that way. That is, what we do is we are a consultant in the design and development of triple bottom line businesses and the transformation of organizations towards sustainability. We, in Keidos means from the kaleidoscope, the other way to see things, other way to do things. We as lawyers want to change our view, how we want to render our services, and how we have to put sustainability in the ADN of the organizations. We advise and development investment funds with the vision toward mobilizing sustainable investment and has a focus on ESG practice. We are also specialized in sustainable value chains and complex structures for creating solutions where we make a mix from non-traditional legal forms, including this hybrid model and joining this mix of for-profit companies and not-for-profit companies. We also have led the first social impact bond in Argentina. On my side also, I'm the current vice president of the Global Alliance of Impact Lawyers, which is an organization where we are promoting lawyers to become and to start this practice of impact law, as we call it. I co-founded in Latin America what was called the Latin American Impact Lawyers Network, that now is the GAIL LATAM group of lawyers. We work together with the Global Steering Group in an impact investing working group here in Argentina. And we also co-founded a network with a regional network that is called the Latin American Payment by Result Network. That is a network that promotes the development of payment by results contracts. Agos, I pass it to you.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Pam, for the invitation. It is an honor, as Connie said. I'm also a corporate lawyer with experience in advising organizations that wish to move towards more sustainable models and ESG practices. I started my professional career working in the pro bono field, advising NGOs, and later I combined that world with the corporate business world through the legal practice. And I think knowing in depth the characteristics of these two worlds shape my career and the way I see the legal profession. And I think this led to co-founding Keidos 2 years ago, also as Connie said. And at present, I'm member of the Latin America regional board of the Global Alliance for Impact Lawyers that has representation across the world.
Wow, I don't even know where to start to unpack that, but let me ask you this. Was there a trigger point, or what motivated you to start Keidos? What happened, or was it just always in the back of your mind that you wanted to do this someday?
Well, I think there were several things that motivated us. I think one of them, or the main one, is our passion for sustainability, impact, and ESG issues. And also, I think we were convinced that lawyers are and can be agents of change. And I think that is the main idea that we want to promote at Keidos, because we believe, like, as lawyers, we have an active role to play, and together with a holistic vision that we can develop as professionals, we can make a difference and add value. And I think Keidos symbolizes that. And well, as also Connie said, the name Keidos symbolizes all of this, because it's an idea that we developed from the kaleidoscope concept. So I think that are the two main reasons that motivated us in starting Keidos. And I think also this concept was differentiated us from traditional firms or legal firms, because we seek to create solutions that enhance the positive impact of all of organizations, of all market players.
So how do you find, or how do clients find you, so that you're doing the type of work that you set out to do? How does that work come to you?
Well, the work comes to us. This is a key question for us, yeah. Pam, because we get to know that most of the time we are working not with, we are like an external law firm or consultancy firm. And we as lawyers, we were comfortable of having the person that are contact lawyers are actually the lawyers of the organization, no? The lawyers of the companies, the lawyers, etc. And now we are getting like our main clients, we are having, as mentioned by Agos, is we have different clients. We have like international cooperation, like the IDB or other international banks. We have also like the investors, we have private companies, we have NGOs, and we are working also with the public sectors. But we are starting this not by the contact of the lawyers. We believe that lawyers are not yet in our region working so much with the matters. So the way that clients find us is from the person that is the chief sustainability officer, or the team of sustainability or innovative between inside the company or the organization itself. So this is one of the key questions that we have also put it in our impact report, is how we are changing the ways we are doing things, how we are thinking about not being just lawyers, but with this legal consultancy firm that we have founded, is that we work in a collaborative way. We work in a multidisciplinary way. We are not just rendering legal services. We are working together with other professionals that have other specializations that are not just lawyers. No, this is how we are trying to give our advice. It's not just the legal perspective, but the full perspective, working collaboratively with other specializations and professionals.
And I think that perfectly describes the challenge of ESG for every company, because it doesn't fit within any single department. It's not just a legal issue. It's not just a HR issue. It's not just a finance issue. It's not just a compliance issue. So who manages it? And your story about getting contacted from lots of different people within your client organizations is exemplary of that, right? This touches every function within a organization or within a company. So what types of ESG services are your clients coming to you for? What do they most need help with?
Well, I think that given our broad range of type of clients, we have put in place an offer that covers several impact or ESG topics, such as impact investing, diversity and inclusion, corporate governance, and ESG, and also supply chain and due diligence, and sustainable procurement, and also business and human rights approach in sustainable supply chain. And I think in that sense, the way we provide these ESG services, we have set an approach that is summarized in 4 steps, which is we provide diagnosis, strategies, implementation, and awareness and training, because we believe that perhaps most traditional firms focus on an ESG risk approach. And at Keidos, we want to accompany our clients side by side, because we understand or acknowledge that in order to successfully adopt ESG practice, given if this is an environmental matter, a social matter, or a governance matter, the governance commitment and the ability of tools and capacities are fundamental to make them cross-cutting to decisions and operations. So I think the needs are very broad, and as you said, they're all interconnected. So we believe that our value proposition must be fully integrated with many capacities and considerations. And of course, we understand it's fundamental to educate people at each stage of every organization. And of course, we are convinced that foster to build a strong ESG culture, because perhaps we can provide a service, but if we don't develop the capacities of the people in the organizations, or if we don't provide tools that can be implemented, perhaps it's not going to be successful in the long term. So this approach that we provide through our services, we believe also that highlights this broader role we can play as lawyers, in order to avoid staying only in the risk perspective of ESG compliance. So I think that's that is why we have in mind when advising our clients.
And that's so important to make that distinction, because so many companies look at ESG as a defensive risk management issue, rather than, or what they could be doing is, in addition to looking at it from a risk management perspective, you can also look at it as a proactive, what could we be doing, what should we be doing in order to leverage ESG as a differentiator, right? And so that is more than just a check the box compliance once a year issue. It is robust strategy for how to build value in the organization. So are you seeing talent being attracted to your firm? Because certainly here in the US, younger lawyers just coming out of law school are looking for places where they can land that they feel they're really having a positive impact on society. Are you seeing that from your recruiting perspective?
Well, we totally agree with what you have just said, Pam, regarding the risk and the opportunity of ESG. And yes, that is happening with young lawyers that are trying to get like this purpose when they are looking for where they want to work and where they would like to render their services. We do not have like the model that we are using now at Keidos. We do not have a business model that we are getting talent through in our internal organization. We are not having collaboration or employees, meaning in that way.
Yep.
But we work a lot together with other organizations. Our business model is to build upon developing partnerships, no? With whom we develop multidisciplinary teams, as I mentioned before, given the broad range of impact and ESG topics our advisory practice cover. So we are fully aware that this at present times require co-creation and collaborative solutions in all levels and fields. And that's why our partners are necessary actors and participants in the solution we co-create and develop. So we have senior partnerships, and we work in different projects with young lawyers that are looking for this. No, we agree that this is really a way to recruit talent, as you mentioned before. Under our own collaboration model and like others where we participate, it is not our priority, as I mentioned, to seek talent, no? However, the other part of our business impact model focus, as Agostina was mentioning before, on building the impact ecosystem through the development of open source tools and to facilitate organization impact, training and impact topics and pro bono work. That's there we are looking a lot about the talents and the lawyers, because our experience and we are focusing a lot in develop of training and educating lawyers, no? So in the field of our participation in the Global Alliance of Impact Lawyers, and we are also having training courses with different universities in Argentina, one with public universities, because we have a lot of public universities, another with private universities. We have also developed a program that is in Latin American program that is for all Latin America, where we are trying to teach lawyers, and these lawyers to go through the impact practice and to start this consideration about ESG and how we can feel as lawyers, not only evaluating what are the risks, but also looking forward to opportunities, no? When we are talking about the ESG. This is inspire us to continue working the way we do, no? And beyond incorporating talent to Keidos, we are passionate about the idea of knowing that that there are more and more lawyers passionate about these issues, who share spaces where we know that all kinds of initiatives and projects can be created to promote the creation of new projects. So we are, many times I say that Keidos in Latin America is a very new way of doing business from a legal perspective. And we always receive like this background, these comments that you are inspiring us, no? We feel many times that Keidos inspires other lawyers. We are not attracting talents, but we are inspiring other lawyers of how they can do their work, no? And that for us is really very, very important.
So I have a couple questions on the tools and training. Let's start with the training. You mentioned that you collaborate with universities to offer this training to lawyers. Do you also offer training for your clients so that they can educate internally? And Agostina mentioned that a little bit earlier, but Connie, you just raised your hand. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, I will talk a little more about the training, and I leave to Agos the tools, as you mentioned before. The training, we are developing two kinds of training. One kind of training is with universities, going to young lawyers, and not just young lawyers, no, lawyers in general that would like to start their practices with this field. So we have like these training courses that are executive programs, but also there are programs in the grade, no? When they are working in the university, in the public university, we make like a special program inside the grade when they are trying to look to be lawyers, where we are talking about this, because it is really very important to talk to lawyers before they become lawyers about these matters. We are convinced about that. And the other thing that we are doing is we are also making this sensibilization with our clients. And we need, every time that we get into organizations, we are convinced, and this is really occurred, that they need to have like this previous training. Or when we are talking about ESG matters, depending, of course, which is the sector of the company or the organization, if we are talking about to the state, about sustainable public procurement, or if we are talking about human rights, these concepts, these things are very, very new in our region. So many times when we want to develop this strategy and to start this conversation talking about opportunities, we need to go through this training course. We need to have like this, we call it sometimes workshop, because it's not just going through the trainee and the explanation, but sharing how this is involve your company. You know, if you are talking about human rights, what is the human rights for you, which is where you can find this and where you can make solution, where you can get this impact, no, about making impact on human rights, making impact on sustainable procurement or whatever it is. So it's really, and it's very, very important, and it's give a lot of value for our clients that when we get into this consultancy, projects, we always incorporate like this trainee course for them before or after, talking not just for the employees and the but also to the boards of directors.
Yes.
We really are convinced that it's very, very important to the tone from the top, you know, that really the board of directors are convinced about this. We make a lot of training talking to the governance of the organization and how they should take decisions following ESG matters, taking into consideration ESG matters, not just the economic perspective, but also getting into these environmental and social aspects that are really very important, and they are making impact on different communities or on all of the stakeholders that they are working with. So the corporate governance perspective is also really very important for us when we get to training courses.
And I want to comment on something you said, which I think is so important. It is that they take into their decision-making, not just the financial considerations, but the ESG considerations as well. And the reason I think that's important is it's not an either or. It's not, we're going to make financial decisions or we're going to consider ESG. No, it has to be all of those things. How can we continue to make financial progress and pay attention to E, S, and G elements as well? And Agostina, you wanted to comment and I jumped in.
Yes, of course, and we totally agree with you. And I think that it's a challenge that we face every day, how to combine economic considerations with social and environmental considerations when traditionally they were only looking at economic considerations and how to create more economic value. And as we were discussing, as part of the work we do, we also create these tools for our clients that can be open source and available to the public, or just created for the company or the organization that we are working with. And part of these open source tools or that are available to the public, we have been working with the organizations of American states in regard to sustainable public procurement. And with them and other members of the team, we have created two tools, one which is named Hubs, which aims to promote this sustainable public procurement in the region and allows these public entities that work within the governments to identify economic, social, and environmental and sustainability practice in suppliers, and at the same time allow suppliers to know and make a self-diagnosis on how it's their practice ESG and sustainable practices mature enough, or what they can do better, or what are their things that can improve. And also another tool that we have developed in relation to sustainable public procurement is a model directive, which was a regulation tool on how governments can regulate this sustainable public procurement practice and how it can be implemented once it is adopted. And of course, we also work with developing tools through initiatives, and we have participated through as members of GAIL.
Another tool that we have been working with is from the government's perspective, is with the gender lens view. We have co-created with Keidos Impacto and the ILO Empowerment Fund and ProMujer. It is a toolbox where you can use the gender lens in order to generate impact. So we prepare there, like we were talking about before, the importance of the governance and how the board of directors should take decisions considering ESG and economic and ESG, both, as you mentioned before, and how we can use this gender perspective, no? How the board, from their policies, incentives, establishing goals, and also how they can incentivize all the organization in order to focus. This tool was for the gender perspective, but when we are talking more broadly about ESG, how we can tie the remuneration or incentivize, let's say, well, you have to have a goal in your remuneration, or in your bonus at the end, that is focused on sustainability and ESG. No, this is going to be like the carrot inside how you have to move towards having goals inside your work that are really related to ESG matters, because otherwise, most of the times in our region, due to, and mainly in Argentina, due to our economic situation, it is sometimes very difficult to go through ESG matters when you are having like the urgent problems that you have to resolve. We have inflation, we have other situations that are really very complicated. But we think that you need this carrot, or you need this ways to incentivize all the persons that are working in the company to have like this in their day-by-day business. No, it's not just the problem of others, it's my problem from my meter. I have to do something about that. No, that's why we are also seeing how due to the advance of the regulation in Argentina and in the region about ESG matters, also the SMEs are starting to develop sustainability strategies, are starting to focus on some ESG matters, because we are a part of the value chain of other companies, of foreign companies in the EU or in the US or etc. And Latin America is like, we work a lot in a global perspective. If we want to export our goods, we are now having like some regulation or etc. that we have to comply with. And all of that is now related to ESG matters. So this is like, we say that it's the beginning of something that we are not going back. We are going to be faster forward regarding ESG matters. So SMEs should start, and we are always working with SMEs to start this vision. We have to go forward, and you will need this in order to continue doing your business. But it's really very complicated many times to get this with the clients and all that. That's why we also work with other organizations, with the public sector, with the IDB or other international banks or multilateral organizations that are really collaborating with this movement in our region.
Well, I think you bring up an important point that these regulations are promulgating all over the world, some faster than other regions, but they're coming. And yes, it includes SMEs, because SMEs are part of the supply chain. And I think what a lot of law firms fail to realize is that they're part of their client's supply chain. So two things I want to touch on before we have to wrap it up. One is what your own firm is working on with respect to ESG. And then I want to get into a little bit about your role at GAIL. But let's start with, what is Keidos doing with its own ESG framework and progress?
Well, just to answer that, Pam, I think first, we know that there's a significant gap between the commitments that organizations adopt and the practice that in reality they do. And because we are very aware that our services are really related to ESG practice, we know that we should practice what we preach in some way. So as part of our work, and especially what we have done last year, we have worked on our internal policies, which include our code of ethics and our stakeholder engagement policy. And we have developed our pro bono work policy, because I think that is part of our impact business model, and how and in what ways we contribute to the development of this impact and ESG ecosystem, not only in Argentina, but across the region. And also we have developed a procurement policy and an environmental policy. And we have, in that regard, defined some impact indicators where we can measure all these practices and also compare them each year. So in that regard, we have developed some indicators that come from the number of people trained, not only in the services that we provide, but also as part of our pro bono work, and into what impact or ESG topics we perform these trainings. Also, well, the pro bono work hours, but this is mostly traditional of legal firms. And also we have made these stakeholder service, and also we have identified who are our suppliers and how is our relationship with them. And we have also identified our priority stakeholders group, because these have also led us to understand more about how we generate our impact through not only the services that we provide, but also in other practices that we develop, and also in our daily operations. And as part of our this impact business model and managing our impact and our ESG considerations, we have obtained our B Corp certification, I think 1 month ago. So I think also that symbolize our commitment to these topics. And I think going through this process of obtaining the B Corp certification helped us a lot to understand this business impact model that we have. So we keep on working, but I think we have done a lot, and we are very happy about it.
You obviously have done a lot if you've achieved B Corp certification. That's a wonderful achievement. Congratulations. And certainly one of the wonderful things you both are doing is working with GAIL. GAIL, again, stands for Global Alliance of Impact Lawyers, yeah. GAIL. And you are its current president or incoming president, Connie?
Incoming president, Pam.
So when does your term?
September.
Okay, so in September you will be president. Tell me what your goals are. Is your term 1 year or 2 years?
It's 1 year, because what we want is to have like this rotation of lawyers.
Yes.
So it's going to be just 1 year. I have many ideas, many things, and I'm looking through this now. We are always talking about what is the theory of the impact that we want, the theory of change. What are we looking for? What is what we really want to having the impact lawyer? So I think that we are working on this theory of change, where we really want to make our impact. And we have like many aspects, and we are like very new organization. And I think that next year is going to be very important. So it's a huge challenge for me also being a president there, because there are too many things to do. There are so many needs. We are convinced that the lawyers have a really very important role, that we have to change the rule of the game. And most of the lawyers are working as policymakers also. So we have like these two perspectives, one related to policies, policy makers, how we can approach and collaborate with what is the movement of regulations towards ESG worldwide, because we have not having like the same situation. We are not, this is the most important thing of being global, because there is not the same occurring in the EU, in the US, in Asia Pacific, in Africa or Latin America. It is completely different. So working together, sharing our knowledge, having working groups where we can learn what have been failed and what have been successful in other regions is really very important. So I think that we have through GAIL a huge opportunity for all of us as lawyers in order to achieve really the SDGs. We need to change, as I mentioned before, the regulation, the rule of the game, but we also need to change the way we practice our profession. So there are so many things that we need in collaboration with our clients, being this, as you mentioned before, we are a part of the supply chain. We are stakeholders also of other companies, but we really need to make a lot of progress. And GAIL is going to do this. GAIL is going to work. We are already doing this with working groups to share learning, to knowledge share learning, in order to change policy regulation, to collaborate. We have made a lot of alliances with other actors that are on the field of the impact economy. We work with investors. We work together with, I don't want to mention one organization because I'm going to forget for sure other ones, but we are really making this in a collaborative way. And I think that it is the momentum for this, I think that is really the momentum for lawyers to change, as we mentioned before, the way we look things, the way we are professional, and looking through this, that is not only, we have to advise not only of what is legal, but also what is correct, what is what we really need as a planet, what is what we really need to change the things that are occurring now. There is an inequality, there is a lot of environmental matters, and we as lawyers have a huge role to play, and we have to to be convinced about this and to work through this. That's why we have GAIL.
And so if a lawyer listening, or anybody listening, frankly, is interested in learning more about GAIL, do you know what their URL is on the website? Is it GAIL?
Yes, it is GAIL.net.
Oh, .net. Okay, perfect. Right. That's GAIL, stands for Global Alliance of Impact Lawyers, .net. And then the other thing I wanted to provide our listeners is the URL for your firm, which I think is quite unique because it's Somos Keidos. And for those of you who don't speak Spanish, Somos means we are. And I just think that's a very powerful URL. We are Keidos. So Somos is SOMOS and Keidos is KEIDOS.com.
I have to make a change. Sorry, it is not .net. It is GAIL.org of organization. .org.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. GAIL.org and SomosKeidos.com. Thank you, Connie, and thank you, Agostina, for this terrific conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And one of the things I look forward to with all of my guests is inviting you back a year from now so we can talk about progress. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you again. Certainly we'll talk before then, but we're also going to do another podcast next July. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam.